Desde el hondo crisol de la patria se levanta el clamor popular, ya se anuncia la nueva alborada, todo Chile comienza a cantar, recordando el soldado valiente, cuyo ejemplo se hiciera inmortal. Enfrentemos primero la muerte, traicionar a la patria más. Venceremos, venceremos, mil cadenas habrá que romper. Venceremos, venceremos, al fascismo sabremos vencer. Venceremos, venceremos, mil cadenas habrá que romper. Venceremos, venceremos, al fascismo sabremos vencer. Campesinos, soldados y obreros, la mujer de la patria también, estudiantes, empleados, mineros, cumpliremos con nuestro deber, sembraremos la tierra de gloria, socialista será el porvenir, todos juntos haremos la historia, a cumplir, a cumplir, a cumplir. Venceremos, venceremos, mil cadenas habrá que romper. Venceremos, venceremos, al fascismo sabremos vencer. Venceremos, venceremos, mil cadenas habrá que romper. Venceremos, venceremos, al fascismo sabremos vencer.
Hello. I guess my voice is going out now. This is going to be another extemporaneous chat with y'all concerning something that happened, I would say, in the first half of Peace Island's development. And it's something that I've long relegated to my past, but considering I am a game developer and I know that other game developers might fall prey to these same individuals, I felt that it was in the interest of other game developers and the public at large to know that there are individuals out there who are legitimately in the business of destroying game projects and ripping them off for all they can get. Yeah. In my last one, I covered an individual by the name of, let's say his name was Brett, and I have to add the extra T, Dunham. You can learn all about him in the previous video that I did. There's a part 1 out there, and you see I added an extra T there because Brett Dunham, he does a lot of very shady business things, including adding, basically going under various aliases, and one of the simplest ones is just simply to remove a T from his name. So it's, and also, I remember the last time that I looked him up a couple months ago, he had actually set up like a fake business. I guess he was trying to launder money. I can't be sure, but it was very shady that you looked in his employment industry and history, and there was just a fake website, literally a fake website. With no address or anything. But tonight we're going to be talking about an individual by the name of Mike Shiranovsky. Now, I want to preface this video, and this is a topic that I want to make clear our position on. I would not be mentioning, Mike Shiranovsky now identifies as a trans female. Now, and they go under the name of, I believe now, Amy Elizabeth or Amy Elizabeth Shiranovsky. Now, understand, as somebody who considers himself an ally of the trans community, I would not engage in the practice of dead naming in any circumstance unless it was for the protection of other individuals. And like I said right down here, the first of our scammers, this was somebody hired under this individual's advice, they go under different names to cover up their crimes. Now, I want to make absolutely sure that this individual can be identified by both of their names. And this has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with their new identity. In fact, despite my feelings about this individual, I do know that, considering the problems that the trans community is facing these days, they have nothing but my support and respect for their transition, and I hope it goes well and they find peace and calm about themselves in that and feel empowered. On the other hand, I want the rest of the world to know that this individual is also a serial scammer. They are also, I would say, perhaps without a doubt, the most incompetent individuals I have ever met. They're bad at writing. They are very bad at, I would say, every level design. They apparently got really big kudos for working on the Thief project back in the day. And I should put this on there because that is in their credits. On Thief franchise. Okay. Thief. It's gracious. All right. And my typing. My keyboard is really filthy. You're going to have to pardon me. Now, this is how the person got their biggest kudos, because apparently one of the levels that they did for Thief 2, I believe, was considered to be a classic. Now, having seen this person work in tandem with another individual to design a level, oh goodness, pardon me, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, hello, Laura. I'm screaming. I hope that is not an issue. Okay, hello, everybody. But anyway, they worked on the Thief franchise back in the day, and they actually did have a very good, legitimate resume. But I think I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. I need to really discuss first how I know this individual and how they intersected with Peace Island. Now, understand, in late 2019, Peace Island had gone viral. And that's the only way that I could describe it. Literally, I went from being a line cook at Ananias here in Portland to being a game developer with literally the entire world knocking at my door. Now, understand, I looking back at that, I realize that is every game developer's absolute dream. And that happened to me. And let me tell you, when it happens, and I hope it happens to a lot of game developers that might be watching this in the future, it's both exhilarating, but it's also absolutely terrifying. Because one of the major problems that we were facing at that time was that because of the viral nature of the game and the way the internet gaming press works, and again, this was before the age of AI, just about every article that was being written about Peace Island was being written basically with the message that this game is literally 2 weeks from being released to the general public, when really it was basically in pre-alpha at that point. I mean, think about it. We had only been working on it for about 2 years at that point, and basically it was just me, Laura. That was it. So it wasn't like we were... Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. But anyway, as I said, it is terrifying as well. It's exhilarating, it's inspiring, it's wonderful, but it's also terrifying. And at that time, I had some individuals get in touch with me trying to help out with the game. Many of them were, musicians. Let me tell you, there is no shortage of musicians looking to do music for games. And some of them were writers, some of them were, animators, etc., 3D artists, etc. But again, I at that time, I was basically sitting there with the entire world expecting our game to come out in a couple of weeks, and I knew the next version was going to be basically another pre-alpha where the cats could basically run around the island and nothing else. And that was very scary. It wasn't that I misrepresented the game, but anyway. And at that time, I was feeling like, how am I going to do this? We do need to hire people. That was a given. But I did not know who. Now, here's what, that was a point where I made a big mistake. Uh, any game developer, when they get to a certain point like this, they may feel a little bit of imposter syndrome, and that they may feel I'm not capable of doing what I shouldn't even be here. This isn't my beautiful house. This is but the thing that any game developer that's watching this in the future needs to understand: the stuff that got you to that point is all you need going forward. Trust in yourself. That is the most important thing, because at that point I lost absolute trust in myself and absolute confidence in the project. And that is what had sustained it through all the previous 2 years when we were working on such a tiny budget and the hours off we had. But anyway, when I was feeling very vulnerable and and again overwhelmed, Mike Shiranovsky here got in touch with me via email, and he told me his story. And understand, for the rest of this video, I will be referring to this person as Mike Shiranovsky. I know that might seem odd considering, again, their new identity, but I knew them as Mike, and I think I have in this video pretty much established that they are the same. So I think if I'm going to just go ahead and say, yes, one day I got an email from Mike. And he had a very, very compelling story. He said, look at my resume. And I did. It was a very good resume. And he said, look, you'll notice that my game development stopped at a certain point. And he told a very compelling story like it. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but again, this is contemporaneous, or extemporaneous. But he said, well, you know why I haven't been able to do any game development several years? It's because so many years ago, I was sideswiped in a car, and I got an infection on my vertebrae. And as a result, I lost control, functional control over my right arm and my right hand. And thus, my ability to do game development was severely curtailed. But here's the thing. I read about your game, and and again, I didn't know at this point that Mike was setting up something called a confidence scam. Excuse me. And understand, the first thing that somebody needs to do to set up a confidence scam is to gain their mark's confidence. And when he came to me and he was like, I haven't done any game development because it's an unfortunate accident, but let me tell you, I know the best people. I can help you out. And, I am getting more control of my right hand. This could be my step up back into the game industry, and it would be really cool if you worked with me. Now, again, under normal circumstances, I would go, yeah, I'll get back to you. But at that time, I was extremely vulnerable. And I had also heard a podcast called, it's no longer on the air, called, it was one of those, Reply All. And they talked about the development of this Dragon Cancer and how the developer had taken the game as far as he could by himself. And then, he took it to a game developers conference, and he got a lot of good press, and people volunteered to work on his game, that Dragon Cancer. And I figured, okay, well, that's happening to us here. People are learning about our game, and they would like to work on it. Now, I don't fault the people at Reply All. I just did not understand that since the gaming industry is the most profitable, it is also the most corrupt. Now, I would draw an analog to my days when I worked in politics. On the periphery of politics, you always thought it was about people making the world better. and compromise and ideologies and so on and so forth. And and I got a chance to go to speak at the George Washington University twice, JFK School of Government. And during my time there, I learned just about absolutely about how there is no real hope in American politics and how screwed we are, and how I did. And everybody who looks at the game industry from a distance, likewise looks at it from a distance or is involved in the periphery, thinks of it as like this Emerald City. No, it's more like God, Detroit 15 years ago at its worst. It's just it is the most, and that actually, no, Detroit is actually a very strong and resilient city. That's a very bad metaphor. Just the gaming, it's a hive of scum and villainy, and I did not know that. But I was new to this, and I guess this guy, he just sniffed that, and he went, "Man, this is a great chance for a confidence scam." Now, let's see where that guy. The way he operates is first, I know the best people. Now, the people he got us to hire are first Brett Dunham, who is a serial scammer. And let me see, there was also Mike. Mike on PD, which we will have a video about in the coming in the near future. And he introduced me also to a woman named Kara. Now, I'm not going to say much about Kara because here's the thing. I believe that Kara did have the best intentions. Also, they gave me some good advice, and also, if they had not briefly joined the project, Brett Dunham would not have been called out, and he would not have run away. So, Kara, I consider you safe, because again, I think the time that she was brought back, she came into the project the second time. I think she was just dragged in by this individual because he was like, "I have complete control now. I can just totally destroy this and grab the copper wiring while I'm from the walls." That's what he was inviting her in for. And anyway, in a way, I'm grateful that he did that because that finally got rid of it. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself. Now, another thing that he would do is that he would essentially pit one person against another. He cause dissension. And he had a very good agent in doing that because one of the people that I brought on, bless his heart, was a big fan of Mike Shiranovsky. And boy, Mike Shiranovsky really manipulated the hell out of that guy into acting, just behaving in a very odd way. But anyway. And also, gain confidence. At the very beginning, I cannot count the number of times that he would do the thing where he would, "Hey, what's going on? You sound upset. Is there something I should know about? You can talk to me, man. I've seen it all in this industry, and let me tell you, I have advice to give and wisdom to offer." So he would always be doing basically what Scientologists do in their auditing sessions. He would poke and poke and poke and gain information that he could use against you later, against me later. Now, about a year, for the first 6 months, again, that we had these people here, things were moving more or less well. Some stuff was getting done, albeit at a very slow speed. I figured, I had never put together a company like this before, so I figured, we're getting a little bit of teething pains, but we're getting stuff done, and stuff was getting done. The game world was, sectioned off. It was now streaming. It loaded better, ran faster, and we were adding new systems to the game. And everything was fine. But at a certain point, Mike, uh, I was just like, Mike, I realize that you guys are doing your best. When I tried to raise concerns about the slow process, because I mean, even back when it was just me and Laura, things were getting done faster, and now all of a sudden we had like 3 people working for us or 2 people, and things were not getting done nearly as fast. And he would just, again, oh, trust me, Eric. Eric, you know what you should do? This project is so big, you really should sit back and let industry professionals take care of this. You can be management, but really take a hands off. And at that point, understand, I was willing to do that for a short period. Because understand, during the time that the game was viral, there were 9 months that went by in this absolute haze, because every day I was answering emails, doing interviews, sending out hundreds of premiums every day. I mean, I literally had very little time to even open the game project for about 2 weeks. And I did think, hey, that's fine because we have these guys working on it. But I did realize at a certain point things are going slowly. Now, that's when Mike said, I know this guy. He's the best guy. He usually comes in and gets $100 an hour just for consultations. And he's willing to have a free meeting with us, Eric. And you do not know how valuable this is and how long I had to work to get this guy's attention. Because usually he works for the big companies. I know this guy. And I said, okay, sure. Like I said, I had never run a company like this before. And at that time, I had, lost a lot of confidence and, a lot of assuredness. And I figured, again, maybe this guy did know his stuff. Because at that point, I was wondering what the heck I'm going to do. Because I think at a certain point, it would have been like, guys, it's 6 months and the cat can't freaking jump, Brett. He was the guy that was Mike Shiranowski recommended that I hire Brett Dunham. Mike Shiranowski, again, was the guy who recommended that I hire Brett Dunham to do the character controller. And again, at that point, Mike Shiranowski also gaslights like a crazy person. I mean, he will make up psychological conditions and constantly remind you that you have those psychological conditions. Now, here is the thing. I knew that he was gaslighting me because he didn't seem to understand. Laura, my partner, and also my co-developer, she is a psychiatric professional. We have copies of the DSM-4 and DSM-5. We know this sort of stuff. But I was like, I'm willing to put up with it because here's the thing. Mike Shiranowski had gained my confidence at that point. And at that time, I felt sorry for him. And I was like, well, let me tell you, if the guy gets a little bit more confidence out of things, if he thinks that he's doing this to me, I'm going to let him do it. And, that was a bad decision on my part. But anyway. Yeah, he constantly diagnoses people and claims you have psychological conditions that do not exist in the DSM-4. And anytime that you come up with any dissension against anything that he says, he will go, remember, you have this condition. Now, under normal circumstances, I'm not a violent person. But near the end, I just started asking, let me see your psych degree, dude. Let me see your psych degree. And of course, he didn't have a degree in psychology. So, he was totally unqualified in his gaslighting. He could have looked, like, maybe bought a DSM-4 and actually looked up real conditions that he could diagnose people with, but instead he just made them up. Now, At a certain point, about 2 weeks after he said, I know this guy, and I say, go ahead. I was like, okay, dude, when are we going to have this meeting, Mike? When are we going to have this meeting? This guy, this precious guy that's so important. Uh, he just constantly said, well, you gotta understand, Eric, this guy's, he's very important. $100 an hour for his counsel. We're gonna be lucky if we can get him in maybe a couple of months. Now, as I said earlier, one of his main things, Mike's main modus operandi in the way that he operates, is to cause dissension. I don't know whether he had asked one of our people to do it, or that person had decided to do it on themselves, by themselves. But at a certain point, about 2 months after Mike said, well, he's going to line up this great meeting with like Mr. Big, this individual who Mike had taken under his wing just blares into the development chat, saying, "I've written up an outline for our meeting with Mr. Big." And I said, "Excuse me?" Did I ask you to set up? Did we talk about this? And that's how it started. And essentially, a lot of drama ensued that should not have happened. That was mostly stirred up by Mike Sharanovsky. Um, and after the drama that ensued, because here's my policy: you can come into us and propose a schedule or whatever, but I thought I explained previously to these individuals, to everybody, when we have a big meeting with somebody that's important. I don't. We work on a cooperative level, but not everybody is invited into the meeting. And I took, for example, many years ago, I had, and this is absolutely true, I had a meeting with Rosie O'Donnell, and bless her heart, she doesn't deserve any of the crap that Schindler is giving her. Rosie O'Donnell, she's odd. She has some, very strident opinions, and she does odd things. Guess what? She's a human being. She's a celebrity, but she's also a human being. We all do crazy, weird stuff and have odd opinions. But anyway, I liked her. But anyway, I had a meeting with her, and the reason why I came up with this method of meetings was during my meeting with Rosie O'Donnell and the lead up to it, I had people that were like, I really need to be there with you, Eric. This is my one chance. I just really, I won't talk to her. I won't do anything. I won't impose. And I said, I just want to be your wingman. I'll sit there silently and, I'll bring my cachet to the table. That one meeting I had with Rosie O'Donnell went south because those individuals that were like, oh yeah, I'll sit inside and I won't bring in my own agenda, they dominated the conversation from the moment that she sat down. And from that point onward, I said, if we have a meeting with this guy, it's going to be me, second in command, and that individual. We're not going to have everybody in the meeting. Now, after explaining this, understand, Mike Sharanovsky has spent the previous several months gaining confidence of this other individual and causing dissension. And boy, did this guy go crazy. And at the end of that evening, and I'm still bringing this guy's name up because he should be just always remembered. Because he, again, out of all these people, understand, Mike Sharanovsky was somewhat intelligent. I will give him credit for that. The next person, Mike Bonafide. I'm leaving him for last because I will give him credit. He was very, very smart. Brett Dunham, on the other hand, take Hank Hill, remove about 50 points of IQ, and make him a game developer and make him. But the problem, I can't even say that because Hank Hill knew propane and propane accessories. Brett Dunham, I don't think he knows how to open up Unity Editor without asking ChatGPT. But let's again, we did another video about him. So and you can watch that one. But anyway, after that meeting, I came up with that. Me, second in command, and the guy. Second in command, and the guy. And that's the way it should always be. But after that, understand that led to such an eruption of insanity and drama that never needed to happen. That the next day, all these scammers were just going, I don't want to be part of this project anymore. You don't deserve it. And by that point, understand, through many late night conversations with Mike about, how, like you said, he was like, oh, if you ever have any problems, you could talk to me. And I will unfortunately say, in retrospect, that at this point, I had been conned. Mike Sharanovsky had gained my confidence. And it really sucks to admit that. And when he was, that next morning, after that eruption of insanity where he was like threatening to leave and everything, I had been so convinced and so gaslighted that I believed that these people were necessary for Peace Island to succeed. And that's again why they call it the confidence scam. Now, in the wake of that, I made the mistake of handing even more. I thought I was the problem. I thought I was wrong for raising objections about the speed of the project. I thought I was wrong for raising objections about how my own meetings were supposed to be held. At that time, that was the darkest time I would ever say it was of the project. Because in addition to this, the other guy, Mike Bonafide, brought on. At that point, I did not know until now. He was consistently deleting all of my work. Every time I tried to do any work on the project, he would go onto the server and delete it. I only discovered this about a year later. And by that point, I mean, literally for about, I think by that time, about 7-8 months had passed. And things, oh goodness, anyway. I at that point, I couldn't do anything on the game as well, because it seemed that anything I did outside, directly on the project, was going to be deleted. And they blamed me. They said, Eric, you don't know Perforce well enough. And sure enough, I didn't know Perforce very well. But looking back now, I mean, I was always wondering, how come stuff that I literally spent months working on is missing a couple of weeks later? It's because that individual, Mike Bonafide, was going in there and just reverting. And again, that brings up its own pain, which I will mention in the third video in the series, which will be about Mike Bonafide. But anyway, by that point, I had fallen prey to the confidence scam. And now here's the thing. I'm pretty sure that there are some people out there that are watching this, and they say, Eric, you should have been, this is all on you. You should have been more, You should have been more better at running your business. Putting words into that straw man's mouth there. But no, you can blame the victim all that you want. And that's what confidence scammers depend on. They depend on the person that they've scammed, the person that they gained the confidence of, to be too ashamed, and I'll type this out. They expect the person whose confidence they have gained to be too ashamed to speak out. And that's why confidence scams are still the most lucrative scams in the world. And if you want to engage in blaming the victim, you can do that. I'm willing to suffer that sling and that arrow because, again, at the outset of this video, I said I'm doing this to make sure that other game developers are not scammed in the same manner that I was. I'm willing to take that hit to my pride because, again, I like game development. I love games. And I hate the fact that there are people out there that are doing these things. And if it hurts me a little bit, and if 1 out of 20 people want to go, oh yeah, Eric, he was stupid. He got caught. He gave his confidence to the wrong people. Totally willing to admit that. Yes, I gave my confidence to the wrong people at one time. But anyway, I want to move on to this. From this little public service announcement to those people who may be going, well, Eric, it's all your fault. You instead of blame all the victim you want, it's not going to be very effective in this case or any other case that you apply it to. Except those people who voted for Trump and they thought he was literally going to release the Epstein files. Oh, please. Again, anybody who falls for Trump. But, okay, the exception is Trump. The exception is Trump supporters. Laugh at them all you want. I mean, seriously, laugh at them all. Anyway, we're going to move on from that. Now, I should take this point, when I after I'd been browbeaten and gaslit lit into the point that I was like, okay, the problem is I still have too much control over my own project. And I handed more, authority over to these people for a couple of months. Trust me, this story is coming to an end soon. The story is coming to an end soon. At a certain point, let me just go all the way up to the top here. This individual here, we're going to go back down. Imagine that they had too much power. They had too much control. Well, no, they thought, they could exercise full control. Now, I will say that, again, the one good hire that this individual had, semi-good, their first hire was good, was, again, Kara. And again, Kara, you're not going to be getting your own video because, again, I believe you were somehow swept up into this. Just sort of like I was. I feel a little bit of kinship with you. But at a certain point, Kara, he said, hire Kara on. Now, like I said, she came on for about 2 days. And she quit, saying immediately, Eric, these people are dragging their feet and they're ripping you off. And like I said, from that day onward, Brett Dunham was out. He had been found out and called out straight out. And rather than fess up, he just disappeared. Off to his next scam. And he's worked on other scams since then. But anyway, this video isn't about Mike Chernoff. About Brett Dunham. Now, at a certain point, Mike Chernovsky said, I want Kara to come back, Eric. And this was, in the first months of the COVID epidemic. I think it was the summer of the COVID epidemic. At that point, they had been with our project for, about 9 months there, about 10 months, I think. But Mike Chernovsky said, here's what happened: is that I needed $800. I needed dental work. Now here was my position: the people who were paying on Patreon are not paying for my dental work; they are paying for the game to be done. So what I did during that to earn those $800 is I went back to work at Ananias for a couple of months. Now, at that time, again, I had been gaslit, about 3 months earlier into giving Mike Chernovsky basically free reign, and at that point, development on the game ceased. On their end, and I will tell you that it hadn't ceased entirely at the end of all of this, because it hadn't. But back end work had pretty much ceased for the most part. Now, so I went back to work at this deli, and at that time, Mike Chernovsky, again, this is about 8 months into the COVID pandemic, brought on Kara again to work on our social media. Now, Kara, bless her heart, again, she gave me great advice, and she called out a genuine scammer, and that's again why I feel a little bit of, the heart for Kara here. But when she came back, we had a plan in shape to have a Peace Island fan art contest. Now, now understand, me and another person on the project at that point had worked out all the rules of this fan art project. How it was going to be carried out, on what platforms, straight down. It was going to launch the next day. And on the day of the launch, Kara walks in. I know she attends the meeting, the morning meeting, and she says, "Why don't we post advertisements in schools for this fan art project and have it as a hashtag?" Now, number one, that's illegal. You cannot go into schools and post advertisements for anything. It's also unhealthy because the COVID pandemic was in full force, going crazy at that point. Impractical because schools had been shut down. And if you turned the art competition into a hashtag rather than a moderated place, and you were advertising it to children in schools, there was a strong possibility of exposing children to pornography. Because understand, I may be 55 years old and old, I'm not a boomer, I'm Generation Z. I may be old, but I understand the internet and I understand Rule 34. And if you don't know Rule 34, it says if it exists, there is pornography of it. And I knew that if you threw this art program open, there was going to be pornography of, and if you advertise it in a school, you see everything that is wrong. 4 things. And what I said at that day was, after Kara, bless her soul, had suggested the absolute worst concept in social media advertising history, I said, I want to hear you say I was wrong. Sorry. Because understand, I was going to go back to work at Ananias pulling in a little bit above minimum wage, slinging hash for 11 hours a day just to keep the project, just to be able to pay for my dental work. And this person was going to be in charge of our social media outreach. And I wanted to, and if this person was going to be doing stuff like this right out of the gate, that was our first meeting. I need again to hear her say, I was wrong. That is not a tough thing for a boss to say in the face of somebody proposing. Illegality, spreading disease, totally impractical, and also something that just does not understand the basics of how the internet works. I was willing to give her that job. I just wanted to hear them say, I was wrong. They just kept on saying, it was just a suggestion. After 3 days of me patiently saying and explaining why these ideas were bad and never hearing I was wrong, I fired Kara. That is the point at which I had gone. I think I fired her on the first day that I went back to work at Ananias. And the next, couple of weeks were really tough because Ananias was just busier than ever. And because people were, the COVID pandemic, people were ruder than ever. And man, at Ananias, they had this one woman, and she was on meth. My God. Anyway, she impossible to work with. And I would go in there, sweating my butt off, working my butt off. 10 times a day, I would be getting threatening messages from Mike Shiranovsky. And basically, he turned everybody that, he had brought onto the project into this little private army that was harassing me online via all of our social media and on my phone, probably 50 times a day, sending abusive and threatening messages. So, essentially, me firing his girlfriend was a little bit too much for him, apparently. That drove him over the wall. And also, I think the day that I fired Kara, the day I fired Kara was the day he realized I knew what he was doing. Because the day I fired Kara before I went off to work, he started to, again, gaslight me and diagnose me with mental conditions that were not in the DSM-4 or DSM-5. I just straight up responded each time with, show me your psych license. Show me your diploma. And at that time, that point, that's when that basically he quit. And after that, he spent weeks harassing me and other people. He tried to get our social media sites shut down, and he successfully got FB to remove our ability to advertise. And I wasn't able to respond to this because I was working, again, 8-hour shifts behind the grill, getting home, doing what I could on Peace Island. And on top of all of this, by the way, there was this guy in Maine here, I think he was, but he was stalking me. He was sending me phone messages about 10 to 20 times a day saying, I just want to help you. I just want to help you. And between that and everything else, including across the street, I was very close to mental breakdown. But here's the thing. Remember when, that day after that guy came in and tried to control the meeting agenda? Um, and Mike Sharonofsky was like, "Oh yeah, I want to quit. I don't feel like working on this project anymore. There's no peace in Peace Island." At that point, I should have said, "Fine, see you later," and gone back. It's just me, Richard, the guy who's doing our soundtrack, and Laura. Gotten rid of, because this guy had brought Mike Sharonofsky. Let me just go up here. Is without a doubt the most incompetent, talentless, and I'm going to use a word that's great. That's used in Great Britain, meaning gormless. Meaning, is it gormless? Gormless individual on Earth. And if you're wondering what gormless is, let's just hit that up on gormless. Let's bring this over. Lacking sense or initiative, foolish. I would say that if you gave Mike Sharonofsky a burnt out match and a fire broke out. Oh, sorry. No, I have to type this out. We'll go back to type that. If you gave Mike a burnt out match and a fire broke out 900 miles away, you can be 100% certain that Mike is responsible. Everything he touches turns to lead. There is a great phrase in one of the VNV Nation songs, and it's if you create life, they'll try to grind it into sand. If you have gold, they'll try to tear it from your hands. That Starfuckers Incorporated, Nine Inch Nails, all of those songs. When I realized what this guy had been doing to me, I was listening to the Pet Shop Boys again, and there's this song about opportunities. I've got the brain, you've got the brawn, let's make lots of money. But there's this line out there, it's like, everything he touches turns to lead. It's like, I've done so many amazing things. I could do this for you. But trust me, my car is outside. I'm afraid it doesn't work. But if you come up with me, if you join up with me, we'll make lots of money. So that is what this guy is. Every one of these songs that every musician has ever made about a cheating bastard, a starfucker, somebody that is just there to screw you over and walk away with everything that you built burning right behind you, that is who Mike Sharonofsky is. And yes, it probably is who Amy Elizabeth Sharonofsky is as well. Now, I could go on, let's just say after that point he left. He did nothing but damage the project in every way. Nobody that he had me hire, not a single one, did anything worth any value to the company. And by the way, remember that big meeting with the guy? The meeting with the guy that Mike Sharonofsky said, this is going to be the biggest thing. This guy, he's the shizzle. He'll be able to help us out in ways. And he makes $100 an hour. He trusts me. He's giving. Just stick with me. I mean, if you get, I won't invite this guy if you get rid of me. We finally had that meeting with the guy. He was with us for 5 minutes and he said, okay, here's what you need to do. You need to create a design document. I got a meeting. I'll see you later. If you do not know, a design document is the absolute first thing that a video game developer creates before making a game. Except if they are a Bethesda. I think it recently came out that Bethesda doesn't ever create a design doc when they start. But essentially, Mike Shiranowski's greatest contribution was to hook up a meeting with a person whose only $100 an hour advice was basically the absolute first thing that any game developer knows. Now, I need to step away for a bit, and I will be back. I've not been paying attention to anything. If anybody's watching or anybody's chatting, and I'm pretty sure maybe somebody's saying something snide, but I am going to go on a break for just about 30 seconds, and when I get back, you know what? I am going to discuss how we recovered. Because understand, I know that Mike Shiranowski, Amy, Elizabeth Shiranowski, might be watching this, and I want them to know. I'm pretty sure they're very upset about everything that I just said. When I come back, I want to finish this off by giving them a little cherry on top of their turd sundae of disappointment by letting them know how we survived. As long as we know how to love, we know we will survive. But anyway, we will talk in just a few minutes. Like I said, I gotta go and get another beverage because I'm not used to talking and my mouth is constantly dry. I'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Give me about 30 seconds. Okay, now how we recovered. The first thing is understand they wanted to shut us down completely, and they did everything they could. But understand, game development is not just what's happening on the back end. Understand during the months that these people dallied around and screwed around with us and wasted time. Um, Game development never ceased. Laura and I, every week, we had writers' meetings. Every week. Let's see. We fleshed out the wiki. Fleshed project. Even though everything that I tried to do for Peace Island, everything Laura and I tried to do for Peace Island was deleted and reverted by Mike Bonafide. Understand when we went into this, Laura was a newcomer to Unity for the most part. By the time we wrested control away from these people, Laura was more conversant in aspects of Unity. Learn Unity. We wrote story. because one of the strongest things that we felt was that we have in our story is the complexity and depth of the lore that we have. Um, yeah, they did everything they could to delete my work and such, but understand there were some parts of the project they could not get to, and they could not destroy. And at a certain point, after all of those people had left, and I realized that really the amount of work that had not been done, and we were going to have to start over from square one on so many places. Um, boy, I'm pretty sure Mike Sharanovsky will feel glad in knowing that that was a very tough time in my life. Like I said, very much like I said earlier up here. Here, um, I felt a lot of that shame that those years. I had to come to the realization that for 18 months, I had basically handed the project over. I mean, but here's the thing. Mike Sharonowski and his buddies might think, "Oh my goodness, at least we were able to do that. Oh my goodness, we caused him so much pain and suffering." Well, here's the number one thing they need to understand. Not only did project work continue as best we could, because there was a heck of a lot of artwork done as well, and a lot of audio work. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to go. Let's see, writing and books. Let's see. Let me see. Audio and soundtrack. That work continued as best as we could. Um, and now, again, the scammers may think, at least we were able to make them feel bad, or we were able to like delay them somehow. But understand, their number one goal was making money. All in all, these individuals, on top of everything else, uh, let's see. Mike Sharanovsky is a down. Also, let me just get copy paste this down here so we can do. He is also the absolute worst scammer. Understand that in the end they only made away with it, but I think 1 or 2% of our funding. They did their damnedest. I mean, I mean, I know that Brett Dunham. I mean, he essentially makes his living going from one place to another scamming. But I mean, they had months. They had 18 months, and all they could grab was about 1 to 2% of our. I, not the worst. That's most pathetic. Yeah, just as I mentioned about Brett Dunham, the other scammer, one of the scammers that Brett Dunham. I mean, I know he considers himself sort of like an Ayn Rand sort of guy, like I'm a creator, etc., etc. Where in reality he's just a scammer who's never really created anything. Maybe Mike Sharanovsky can come away. I mean, maybe pats himself on his back or herself. um, as being, well, at least we're able to scam him for about 18 months. Well, at the end, if your purpose really was to scam us and destroy the project, he failed at that. Let's see. Just bring that. He failed at destroying us. He failed at grabbing much money. Now, so why do I think this guy's dangerous? Because any scamming is dangerous. And I think really, how do I sum this up in the end? I think I will sum it up the way recently I gave a talk at the Children's Annex at the Portland Public Library. And one of the most important points I wanted to get across to the kids that I spoke to is, as a game developer, your two most important positions are your ideas, and your trust. You would not give away, you would not just give away the idea for your game to anyone. So don't do the same with your trust. People like these scammers, they depend on people's weaknesses. And they will swoop in. Oh, possessions. Okay. Your two most important. Let's go over it. As your game developer, your two most important possessions are your ideas and your trust. You would not just give away the idea for your game to anyone, so don't do the same with your trust. Now, and like I said, these people will swoop in when your confidence is lowest. So the most important thing, and everything is here in caps already, is believe in yourself. Because if you believe in yourself, those scammers have nowhere to go. They will knock on your door, and you'll say, "Sorry, oh no, I hear the McDonald's is hiring." Now, I feel maybe I should spend just a second on camera, face to face, just like I did with the Brett Dunham video. Before I do that, I need to go and grab. It's kind of hot here in Portland, and I'll admit. Spare yourself the mental image, but I'm shirtless. I'm going to go get myself just a little, so I can get like face to face with the camera for a moment. Here we go. All right, here we are. Go over to OBS and make sure my bring myself over here. Yep, there I am. By the way, this is just like a $10 eBay purchase. I'm gonna bring myself up. This is the most important part. I speak to Mike Sharanovsky. So, hi Mike. Hi, Mike, or Amy, however you prefer to go. I hope your transition is going well. Now, just as I said to Brett Dunham in the last video I did about you and your little cadre of scammers, at the end of that video, I said, listen, Brett, you have two choices. You can choose to just accept the truths that are contained in the video that I just did and deal with it and move on. Or, Mike, you can pick the fight with me that you're going to lose. Those are your two choices. Now, I'm pretty sure you're going to say, well, this video is only going to get about 45 views. There's 45 people who know about you and the scam that you're pulling. And here's the thing. Mike, I have a feeling that as you were on basically disability and you're getting your medical care from the state, I have a feeling that you probably didn't report every one of our invoices to the state that was giving you your checks every month. And I have a feeling that perhaps your transition costs may be tied up in this just a little bit. Now, I still have all those invoices. And again, if you want to cause trouble, um, I'm going to send those invoices to the state there. And let me again, you don't want to start a fight you're going to lose. You're going to be far worse off than you could ever think you could have made us. So there you go, Mike Shiranovsky, the game developers of the world. Believe in yourself, not Mike C. Or Amy Elizabeth. Now, I think that's a good place to stop it. That's all I really wanted to say. Now, in a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, I'm going to do one about Mike Bonafide. And that's going to be, I think, the most painful one to do. Because Brett was only with us for about 7 months before he got scared away. Mike C left us after about, 18 months. Mike Bonafide, he abused my trust in ways that we'll remember for quite some time. But we'll cover that next time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.